What's up, everybody? This is Phil Rogacki.
And I'm Jared Abergina.
You're listening to Two Tree Guys Podcast. What's up, everybody? Phil Rogacki here at Arborfest in Asheville, North Carolina. Sitting here with a good friend of mine, Korey. Conry. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
I always mess up last names.
Don't worry. Every teacher I ever had thought I was going to be a girl, or they spelled it wrong. So,
but before we get started here, guys, on this mini episodes with some industry badasses, we're going to be talking about today keeping on board with onboarding. Just to hear his talk a little bit at the TCI Expo. I mean, I'm not TCI Expo. Arborfest. Arborfest. Oh, screw that.
Don't worry,
one.
I'm already in talks with TCI Expo to do about driving, so I'm already working on the next thing to talk about.
Okay, good. Oh, that's why I said that. Guys, if you've never listened to the show, we got different episodes. Today, you're listening to a mini episodes by Industry Badasses. We have our What's Your Story mini episodes of people coming in and discussing and talking about their story and their life and how they got in the industry and people that have mentored them and wisdom that they can share. 3, we have our gear talks, bringing manufacturers and products in and just discussing the products and talking about them, what's out there, giving you a little bit of info, behind the scenes, safety, inspection, stuff on all these products, tools, and equipment that's out there. And then we have our full length episode. So if you guys are ever traveling, coming to California, and you want to be on a full length, hit me up. We'll put you on the show. Come stay at the ranch, and we'll drink some beers, and we'll sit around the table. And that's one I'm going to save for you, buddy. Yeah. So this is the first time Korey's been on the podcast. He's been waiting for years now.
First time caller, long time listener.
First time caller. Have you listened to every episode?
Pretty much. I was just going to say the gear talk is actually probably one of my favorite ones.
Is it? Okay,
it's
good.
Probably the area I lack the most knowledge in. Is actually, because I listened to the last one I listened to was the zigzag.
Okay.
Dental talk that you guys had. So it was actually interesting to listen from a different perspective of just besides just Justin.
Well, let me ask you this though, since you are one of our number one fans,
I share it all the time.
Do you pay the fee?
That's your fee. Yes, I share.
Pay the fee.
I tell all of our coworkers, because a lot of us drive. I do about 3 to 4 hour drive a day, so I definitely have some room to listen to things.
Cool.
So, but yeah.
Well, good. Well, the fee, guys, you got to share it. Yep. Share it. Put it out there. The more of these that we get out, and the more people they touch, the more people learn. And you don't know what's going to trigger someone to be a better person, a better climber, a better faller, just a better teammate all around, just by some of these conversations we have. So pay that fee.
Think about what you're in the tree now, and they have all CNAs, and they're all connected, where you could actually just be listening to a podcast, learning, and then they can still talk to you, so you can get 2 for 1.
2 for 1. I like it. But Korey is a field safety and training supervisor for Mountain Enterprise, one of the largest companies on the West Coast.
Yeah, for utility.
I mean, in general.
Yeah. I think it's like 3rd or 2nd in California, but Asplin and Dave. Yeah, I know.
I don't count them. I don't count them.
No worries.
I don't count them.
I always tell people California work for California companies.
They're worldwide. They're in another league. But,
yes, they are.
But Mountain Enterprise has been definitely a big steward in our industry for training, for education, for just setting the bar high of how a company should run and be. So we appreciate you, man. And you're also a fellow colleague at Butte College in the college programs with us. So
yeah,
that's been fun. You've been learning stuff there?
Yeah, that's why I told when they first asked me to do it, I was excited to, because I saw Academy on YouTube, and I really wanted to be a part of classes you guys taught, and I get to be with the trainer every 5 weeks. So
that's cool. When are you coming through a boot camp?
April was actually what I was looking at, because this month didn't work.
Okay. And we're gonna get you in here.
I know. I every time I tell people to go to those things, it's actually one of my biggest talking points. So it's
cool.
You guys got all the chess pieces, like I told you.
Well, let's get into your talk. Let's discuss on keeping on board with onboarding.
Okay, so one of our biggest, I think, drawbacks in our industries is that we have a lot of people hop around, and they'll want to jump from company to company, kind of chasing the money, or the per diem or whatever thing is there. And so now that they're starting to get more unionized and more centralized with their wages being kind of equal around every company, you kind of need to have a good retention rate. So,
and we're talking union here. What about residential?
Residential. So they're non-union yet. They're still non-union, but you still want to retain those good employees. So it's still applicable for sure to where you want to maybe have that guy that's been there for 5 years, train that person who's 1 month into it, and kind of have like a apprenticeship program where you have someone training them. So I go from the starting to the actual interview, like retaining that employee who may not know exactly what their job is. So explaining to them when they first get hired on to when you're actually talking to them, onboarding, kind of streamlining the process a little better, where instead of doing the paperwork your first day you get there and like, you know, you're really excited about a job and the first thing you do is sit down for 4 hours and fill out a W-4 or 1099. So kind of like having different ideas of how to do things, or maybe you have that employee that's topped out and they want to just stay as like a crew lead. Maybe have them become like a trainer, but out in the field, where you get a new employee, you tag team him with him, and you're going to be working with Chris for 6 months, and he's going to teach you everything we know about this company. Is that something you're interested in? So we talk about just different ways of doing things. I have another idea where drag brush, where no matter what job you do in the company, you go out for a week and you drag brush with the groundsmen. Mm-hmm. So then you kind of understand, because I worked in a restaurant and the first thing they made us do is wash dishes for a week, no matter what job you had. So it made you appreciate the lowest job, you know, of where it's not the most fun, to the where you're like a supervisor, GF and stuff like that. So
okay. So let's talk to me about, you know, onboarding. I'm new, coming to Mountain Enterprise. I'm ready to join. What are some of the things on, you know, keeping somebody onboarded with onboarding? So
the first thing I advocate is like making sure we reach out to them like a pre-onboarding, like, hey, these are maybe the people you're going to be meeting. We're bringing in district managers to help do like a Zoom interview now, where because essentially the recruiter is not going to be working with that person they're hiring. So we want the district manager to be able to work with that new,
before they come in.
Yeah, that new employee we're getting, make sure they mesh and that it's an appropriate position that we're hiring, because you can hire a bunch of climbers, but then nobody's going to want to drag.
So what
brush.
are you looking for when you're interviewing somebody?
Someone that's energetic, someone that's self-starter, you know, those kind of.
How do you know
keywords
on a Zoom call if they're a self-starter?
That's the hard part, is like you kind of have to make sure that when you're interviewing them, that you're asking them like, what work did you do before? You know, do you have any experience? What kind of jobs did you have before? Like I noticed people with like military backgrounds are very, very good at being advocates for themselves and like how they're going to do a good job, and then going out there and actually fulfilling those jobs. But if someone who's never done it before, but they're willing to learn, that's sometimes the one I look for, because no bad habits, nothing you have to break. You're really like, you're fresh, and I can teach those good habits off the get-go. Sometimes I tell our employees that I'd rather get someone with no experience than someone with like 18 months, because I can build that person up with good habits and then trying to break your you know, old bad habits, because it's a tough thing to do, because once they have those, like the amount of time they put into it is the amount of time you have to like kind of take to break that habit as well.
No, I hear you. And also too, I'm going to add on to that is it's good to have standard questions that you ask every single person that comes. So you keep it consistent and you can see how they respond. And then you have a measuring device to know, well, this person was an awesome employee. Here's how they answered. Then I'm looking for certain answers that starts to become normal, rather than every time you get on an interview call, you know, a lot of companies, and this is for you guys are listening, a lot of you guys will just shoot from the top of your head of what you want to ask them.
Yeah. What kind of work you have. So I think the back end of that is the recruiter needs to go and actually do a post interview, not with the employee so much, but maybe with their manager. How's this guy working out? He gave us these answers, and then you can kind of see the consistency of what like work ethic they have, and like with the answers you're given. So yes, there's never going to be like 100% where you know exactly how it's going to end up, because sometimes you have these people that you don't think are going to be great turn out to be the best workers, and then vice versa. So it's not my specialty with like the interview stuff. I just know that we need something to have a standard of set that we can ask them to kind of like see where the worker ends up, because it's not all just bringing them in. It's not a numbers game. There's the qualitative part of it, not just the quantity part of it. So,
definitely. So that individual, you interviewed them, you go, this is the person we want to bring aboard. What's the next part on that onboarding?
So it's setting them up to go in for the actual onboarding part. So now we're trying to streamline it where we do the paperwork first. So you're not sitting there for 3 or 4 hours right when you get to a job, that you actually like have all your paperwork done. And the only thing we're doing is filling in certain blanks here. So
is this a program that you're using?
Yeah, so our company, we use Bamboo HR, but there are plenty of other companies out there. I'm not advocating for one.
No, I use Bamboo HR. They're great.
They're
simple,
super streamlined. You email them, they fill it in, and then there's certain things that might have been missed or like doesn't
now
make
is that
sense.
part of your HR system?
Yeah, that's in our HR department. That's something that onboarding does. That's our time cards. We do all those
through Bamboo.
Yeah, so it makes it really.
Time cards?
Yeah, they have time sheets, they call them.
Okay.
But yeah,
interesting. Good.
It's easy to sit there because you can have 20 people underneath you, and it sends you all their time cards and just approve, or
good.
Hey, we see you work 12 hours this day. Can you like tell us why? And then if you have a legit reason or not, you can just approve it or not. So.
And there's another good one out there called Paycom.
Yeah.
Paycom's a good one too. That connects, all your paperwork and everything through the system goes in. So a lot of similarities. But
and I think that's like one of the aspects of our industry is we're very like old school in certain parts of thinking. And like now, since technology stepped up, we can really streamline a lot of these processes that are like low level tasks where we don't need to have our HR person working on paperwork all day. We can actually have them talking to employees and hopefully making their life easier at work, and then making HR's life easier too, because they're not sitting there doing 3-4 hours a day worth of paperwork. So because that gets monotonous and boring, and
it does. And it doesn't it doesn't matter how big a company you are. Having these programs and getting them set up in the beginning is really important to streamline this stuff and to make it easy for you. And you're paying, per user. So if you only have a few people, you're not paying a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it's important to get these programs set up. So in the future, when you do start growing, you've created that foundation rather than trying to go back. Because let me tell you right now, working within, a company that hasn't had that set up, and all of a sudden they grow and they got 100 people, to go back and to redo all that, it's a pain in the ass.
It's really annoying because people are very unadaptable sometimes to change. It's like, I've always done it this way, I don't want to do it any other way. And then like even with like small updates, they're like, I have to turn in my time card on Fridays, and then they're always upset because something's wrong with it, and it's usually a user error. And you just have to learn how to talk to them about it and
start early. Guys, start early.
No,
on
it's yes, it's a little cost up front, but like with anything, it's investing in your company and making it a long-term solution that's already been set in place.
And two, for when people get into the tree care industry and they open a company up, they're always thinking, I'm never going to sell, this will be a legacy forever. But 30 years goes by and you're like, screw this, I'm ready to get out, I need to retire in some way. Having these systems and stuff set up, this is business talk for you guys, having these systems set up, you're way more attractive to the buyer than them with a bunch of files and paper and scanned in a Google Doc, and you're just like, what
you
the
have
hell?
20 different things that are going on, like Google Docs, you have Excel sheets.
Gosh, streamline it, make it easy.
It's funny because I think we have kind of like similar backgrounds where we're not like, our first love wasn't like necessarily climbing. We kind of like doing the managing part and like figuring out solutions to big problems. And because I've always told you, I'm not a number one climber. No one's going to put me out there for production numbers, but I'll figure out everything else around the tree climbing to make it the best it can be, and we'll go from there. So cool. We have thousands of climbers, but we have nobody who really wants to focus on retention rates or CPR or.
I always say, man, you can't have 11 Tom Brady's.
No, you can't. You have to have maybe a Julian Edelman out there. So
exactly. So okay, onboarding's happens. They're doing their paperwork. What's the next step on keeping someone on board with an onboarding?
So we have like a week-long onboarding where we go through and we teach them about the OSHA stuff. Because you have to go over certain things no matter what. Bloodborne pathogens, CPR is required for utility workers, so we just have everybody do it. It's an ANSI standard, so we try to make sure to follow everything that's appropriate for our industry. And then we do sexual harassment. So we go through all that. And then what we do is we have like a 30, 60, 90 day kind of check-in. Especially now that they're unionized with our utility workers, we have a 6-month period where they have to get not certified, but just checked in, where they can start either moving up a level, or if they're not there yet, we have them, tell them like, this is what you need to work on. And then you can move up to a GRA or GRF, depending on where you're at. And so we're really good about making sure we email out pretty weekly about where everyone stands. So then,
is that coming through Bamboo HR?
No, so we use the hiring dates and stuff like that, and they'll tell us on there. But we have one of our people in our safety department that will like email us out and say, hey, this guy's coming up on his 6 months or 18 months or 12 months, and he needs to be assessed on blank position. And so we try to really, really hone in on that, make sure that we're being fair to the employees, because a lot of them want to move up, obviously, and some of them, could be fine with being a brush crew lead and stuff like that. So we make sure to advocate for them, and that especially that we're talking with the union, making sure that they know where this person's at in their position. So it's something that is what our industry's kind of was lacking until about a couple of years ago, where you could go from company to company and you kind of had to restart every time because no one really kept track of your paperwork. And so now it's all in one central hub where you have the 1245 or the local 3 or whoever.
So the union's holding on to all this?
Yes, but we send it to them. They come out and they do assessments, but we send out their paperwork to them and make sure that they know, like, this is where this person's at, and try to make sure that they know that we're advocating for the best employee and for their best interests. So, well,
I'll put a little plug out there for ATO. If you guys don't know about it yet, Academy Train Online, that's going to be launched here soon. And if you're listening to this, maybe it's already launched. But anyways, we're creating a place where the individuals can keep track of all their certifications and their courses and their classes. So the employer doesn't have to hold it. You carry it with you.
Yeah. And I advocate, invest in yourself. Do not think that like you are, what is it I'm trying to say? Like you deserve anything. There's things where just because you're there for 6 months doesn't mean that you deserve it. You have to show that you want to get better too. And don't be mad at an employee. Because I always tell people I'm more proud of my arborist than my college degree now. So it's nothing that you can't get. I'm not a climber.
Where do you get your degree in?
I have political science.
What do you do with political science?
So I actually worked in DC for 4 years before I moved back to California.
What'd you do?
I was a legislative aide and then a staff assistant for 2 different congressmen.
Well, dude, all that was by you doing that got you set up to do what you're doing right now, and especially talking about the onboard.
Yeah, so it's really funny. The safety manager at my first company I worked for was like, "You do really good paperwork," and so he brought me in, and I've been a house cat ever since. So.
Good, man. Good. I like that. All right. So we got the onboarding, person's hired, sexual harassment, CPR,
all the boring stuff. Yeah. Not boring stuff, but it's stuff that's required. And so, we kind of make sure that they understand what position they're going to be hired for as well. Cause some people get in there and they think they're going to be, top dog climber because they did it with their uncle for 3 years, but they get there and they put the spurs on backwards. And so we kind of have to explain to them like, hey, you're not at this level. And so we try to tell them early, or at least like even on the first kind of day, so then we're not investing $3,000-$4,000 that first week with all the trainings we have, and then they quit on Monday because they don't want to be a backup climber, they don't want to be a groundsman. So it's really important to make sure that you're on the same page with them. That's why there's
would that be where you go back to your with people like that quit within the first week? Do you go back and do a kind of a recap or sit rep on
a post interview? Yeah.
What did you miss with you guys as interviewees if you didn't catch that beforehand?
Yeah. So what happens is I think sometimes they're so excited to be there that they hear the $41 an hour, but they don't hear that they don't have the experience yet to be there. So they think they're going to be at this position because someone told them maybe at a small company that they were the number one climber, and then they get there and they're not. So we do a pre-tryout where they actually go and for the first day where they'll show us their skill level so we can assess them correctly, and then say, hey, this is the position you'll be at. Is that okay with you? Or is this something that you think you can
be at? Well, they really don't have a choice, right?
Well, they don't.
If they want to work with you.
If they want to work, yeah. But it's more of like we want to make sure they're on the same page first. Like on Thursday when they get told their position and they're like, what the heck? Listen, I'm out of here. and then we lose $3,000 or $4,000
Yeah,
on,
from that.
well, because we have employees and training them, we have employees that assess them, and so it's all this money that adds up. That's an investment, and Thursday they're walking out,
Yeah.
and so we have to restart the whole process again. So it's really, really important that communication keeps up. I mean, with any relationship, communication needs to work, but like with our workers in general in our industry, we should tell them, like, be honest where they're at, so then they know where
Yeah.
they're going to be at, so we don't have them quit. And
Exactly.
I mean, with the retention rates being where they're at and anybody can go anywhere, we really want to try to keep as many employees as we can, and we want to make sure that we keep the good employees. And so, like, making them feel valued and making sure they
What are
know
some
where they
things you
stand.
do to make them feel valued, an employee?
Well, so me personally, I go out and I'll ask them if there's anything that they need, anything wrong, and I'll make that call for them, and I'll tell them, like, straight up, like, sometimes it might not happen. I'm just telling you, like, I don't have that much pull, but I know who to talk to. I know to get you in touch with, because sometimes even just being listened to is like 100% big for them. They want to feel like someone's actually caring about their problems, even if they can't get fixed. And it's sometimes, as like managers, I think sometimes we become numb to people that maybe aren't as happy as they are in their position. Because a lot of times these employees, like, you ask them, like, well, why did you quit? It's like, my manager he was rude to me. He didn't talk to me correctly. So it's just good to actually, like, show them that we value your time, we value your conversation. Even if something doesn't get changed, we want to know that we're listening. So 2 minutes out of your day can keep an employee for 6 months. You can keep them for 18 months, 3 years, right? Because a lot of times, it's not fun. It's not fun being out there in the rain. It's not fun dragging brush. But if they know that we care about their quality of, like, work and their quality of life, like letting them go to the dentist if they need to and not giving them crap about it, or, just these little things that, you remember these little moments with, like, CEO of companies or presidents, like, where, $5 gift card might not seem like a lot to, like, someone that's running a company, but it's the world to one of those people that drag brush out there all day. So you can just from a employees or employer perspective, you can write it off as a gift. So at the end of the year, so it's a win-win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
And that $5 that gift card, they remember that, like, hey, I didn't really talk to Phil too much on the day-to-day, but he came in and talked to us, and he was always pumped to see me.
Yeah.
And I only saw him once every 6 months. I love that. So
good. That is good. I like that, man. What are some other things on keeping somebody onboarded with onboarding?
So I like the buddy, like, kind of like a buddy system, or someone where you have, like,
mentor.
A mentor. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So mentor, where maybe you have someone that's topped out in your company, that's been there for 5 years. They don't really want to move into a GF position, but they like working where they're at, and they want to feel like they can contribute more, making them feel valued again. And so you line them up with someone who's never done it before and say, hey, we're going to give you someone who's green, someone who doesn't know anything. You're a very good worker, and we want you to put your hard work skills instilled into this new employee. So yes, we're giving you someone who might not know what they're doing all the time, but they're yours, and there's someone that you can train up, and we want you to show them the mountain culture. We want you to show them how everything works, and he's going to be with you for 3 to 6 months. We're going to have him with you, so we're going to count on you to train him up. So then hopefully that good employee you have will stay, and then also a new hire will be with your good employee, and then you're essentially making another good employee there. So making that, again, just making that that crew lead feel valued, because you're like, hey, we know you're really good at your job. We know you don't really want a GF position, but we want to keep you, like, striving to do better. We're going to give you a brand new guy. So
what how many guys do you normally give somebody? 1, 2?
It just depends on what we're hiring. It's been kind of during the winter months, it's a little slower, just because PG&E will step back a little bit with the funding for, like, emergency work, because it's raining all the time. And but we'll try to, like, line them up with someone that is a crew lead that, like, that's been there for several years. We trust their opinion. We know that they're a good, like, trainer, but we need them out in the field, kind of thing. So maybe they'll have 1 or 2 people. Again, we could hire 50 people in 1 week sometimes, so it's not realistic. So what we do is maybe send a trainer out there and to check into. So we have our trainers who are also field advocates too, that are out there every day. I'm out in North Valley when I'm not doing the Butte College class. They have us work on, like, felling cuts, or we work on how to do the work with the chipper correctly, like these very dangerous pieces of equipment, especially with new people, making sure they're getting it, because it's something that again, it's an investment. Safety department always has this double-edged sword to play where if nothing's happening, why are we paying for you? And then if there's a bunch of stuff happening, why are we paying for you? So we have to really show that we're advocating out there, doing good, safe work practices and stuff like that. So,
good. Well, how do you measure somebody like that with, let's say, your mentorship program, somebody mentoring them, the safety going out there helping? How do you guys measure to know that that's being effective?
So we do so we have those 6-month check-ins that the union is asking us to do now so they can move up in their positions. But we have assessments that we have from us internally too that we do and make sure that they're understanding like our 5 life-saving rules, or they're understanding like the 5 safety features of a chainsaw, seeing like those kind of like those check-in points to make sure that they're getting the mountain culture of like what we expect of them as workers. So asking them questions that like you should know as a 6-month employee, and if they're not, like trying to make sure that they get an opportunity to learn those kind of things. So if they don't have it, we have a book that we give them called the Mountain Line Clearance Program book that has all of our policies and all of our different ways of doing the practices correctly. So we definitely give them ample amount of opportunity. So like that first week during onboarding too, we'll give them a backpack with that book and a pin to make sure that they have everything, and it's required to have it with you while you're at work. So if there's any downtime, you can read about rigging, you can read about tree identification. So we really set them up for success as much as we can. It's really that last 10% of where we need them to open the book. So
Got it. What else on this subject here on onboarding somebody?
So
any other key information to share to make sure somebody who's coming aboard, and onboarding isn't just the week. I mean, you guys are 90 days. When does the onboarding is done?
When it's done, honestly, it's never done.
Okay.
For training purposes, you should always want to keep making your employees better. There should not be a time.
Now I think that's a problem in our industry, because I think a lot of employers out there, employers I've met, they normally maybe don't have the role that this individual can go in to learn more. They have to be a brush puller because they don't have that. And then what happens, these people want to learn more and they leave. And then you have other companies who they don't want to teach them too much because they know they're going to go leave.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate through that where you don't have a lot of positions to teach that person or a lot of time, and you're literally job to job, making sure it's going to be making money? And then 2, what about the companies who don't want to promote that person or teach them too much of all their tricks because they don't want them to take it to another company?
Well, you have like the brain drain where you have a lot of great employees that are like, you have 20 great climbers, but nobody who wants to do the actual work of like chipping and stuff like that. So yeah, there's plenty of companies out there. There's the academy. You have like your 3 or 4 day camp programs, or where you can do felling cuts, where you can pay someone who has those chess pieces they can teach, and then you don't have to keep someone on retainer the whole time at your company, pay them that $100,000 or whatever a year to be there. Or you have like small company, or not small companies, but places that help out small companies like TCIA that will have like a chipping class for a reasonable price where they can go online and do it on their time and learn a 3 or 4 hour class and be able to get a certificate, get CEUs out of it. So there's plenty of opportunities to do it. Just find which one works for you. Like some companies, there's a lot of good reasons to send them to, a place where there's technical felling, where you have a guy that's like right at that point where they need to go above and beyond of where they're at. But you don't have someone who can teach them that, or you want a place where they're able to like send them to an easy class where it's like a chipper, where maybe you have someone who's never done this industry before and they have no idea about how a chipper works, and you can send them to an instructor course for a reasonable price and get that CEU or get that certificate that says, hey, they did this completion. Because you have to show, as an employer, you have to show that you've done some type of training before you send them out there. Because if anybody gets hurt out there, the first thing OSHA asks for, what training did they have? And so you have these reputable companies that have a certificate that comes with their training and a CEU that comes with their training that's like been vetted and shown to work. And so there's different areas to do it. Like our company, Mountain, for instance, we're just, we're large enough where we can have trainers that are full-time trainers.
Yeah.
And it's hard because if you're small, again, it's hard to advocate for, I want to be a trainer. It's like, okay, well, you're also HR then, and you're also, answering the phones.
And most companies, they're not big enough to have a full-time trainer. But, the question I asked, on my part is that I would say advice-wise is no matter what, they're going to leave maybe one day. It might be in a year, it might be 10 years from now. Invest in those people no matter what. Mm-hmm. And this is, where we talk about elevating the standard of the industry through safety training innovation is by investing in those people, they're going to take that information and they're going to plug it into another company and make that company better.
Yeah. And a lot of our people in our industry, they'll go back and forth. We've had people that leave, come back, and I know that
love them in the door, love them out the door.
Well, you're going to eventually see them. They're a part of your industry. They're in general, it's helping out us as an industry overall. Because if they get hurt at some other company, it's just like it's like losing an employee.
So what's kind of a tip from the top, some wisdom you can share with some people today on onboarding?
I two tips. First thing, like I said at the middle of this, is investing in them right at the get-go. And you just said it now too. There's no better way to show a person that you value their time or value them as an employee is like, we have all these programs for you. We want you to get your CTSP, or we want you to get your arborist. And, if there's certain positions at companies where you can get a raise for that. And to me, that just shows right there that you care about them as an employee, because you're giving them monetary for what they did as a worker. And then the second thing would be to not bring in that old school thinking of where you're a wuss or you're a wimp when you don't do this thing. It's like the way we talk to people needs to change a little bit. We need to understand that we have a culture now of like where people are asking questions about your company in the interview instead of you asking them questions like, what do you do to be better for the environment? Or what do you do better to make your employees feel valued? And you have to kind of conform to that. You have to adapt or die. And you'll lose employees, let alone just how you treat them. And not necessarily because of the money. A lot of people will stay at companies for a little less money because they feel like they're treated better. So having people in positions that know how to talk to employees. And if you don't have those positions, or not those positions, those people, have them read a leadership book, or have them go to a leadership class. Like I know that me and you kind of go back and forth on Instagram about books we're reading, and the Extreme Ownership book is like something that's really changed. It's
awesome.
It's changed my perspective of like people that take accountability for their problems are leaders I want, and people that try to figure out. It's not a fact-finding mission. Sometimes it's a fault-finding mission to who to blame for the problem instead of how to fix the problem. Those are the kind of people that I want to make sure that get out of leadership, and then I want to keep people that are trying to actually make the better for the industry.
Yeah.
So, but
Good. Well, I think maybe you and I should get together and take that book and reconstruct it for the industry and make a course on leadership.
Yes, I have actually. I've been.
Don't take my idea.
I didn't know. I already have a PowerPoint for the leadership one.
So do I.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No.
We need to combine them. But, that's good stuff, man. Thanks for sharing some of these tips on onboarding someone. I think it's looked past a lot when bringing someone on. It's the first impression. It's the first feeling they get. It's the first impression. What they're thinking about the company. They've heard so much. The interview was good. Everything was great. They're excited. You want to continue that on through their career from that and touching all those points.
I've had plenty of people come up to me and said they know if they want to stay somewhere based off the first day. If they know this is going to be my company I want to work for life, or if this is a company that's a stepping stone.
That's the tip. That's the wisdom right there. That's the good one right there. I like that one. So guys, listen, that's Korey, speaking on keeping on board with onboarding. Invest in your people from the get-go, from day one. Invest in them, treat them right, give them what they need. Even if they're going to leave in 2 years, 5 years, whatever it may be, they're going to be better today than they were yesterday, and be able to take that into our industry to make our industry better, guys. So
I'll do a little plug too. Now, if you don't see it here at ArborFest, I'm doing a webinar on it in June for UAA about onboarding. So
well, hopefully we get this posted before.
Yeah,
June.
you do before, but yeah, it's just more of a. It just if you're listening to this, they'll be posted on after. So
good. All right, everybody, man, we appreciate you guys. Pay the fee, share the show. Remember to continue to elevate the standard of our industry through safety, training, and innovation. See you guys.